This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Luke Sylvia and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is September 27th, 2022. Jonathan Osborne here. I'm joined by my co-host Luke Sylvia and producer Kevin. The season is here, boys. Media Day was today. We're recording this Monday night. How are we doing, fellas?
It is over, ladies and gentlemen. It's over. We're going to shut it down. The offseason has come to a close, and we can finally turn up the heat a little bit more. The season's starting soon. Training camp, like you said. Season starting. I'm feeling great. Kevin, how are you feeling?
Ladies and gentlemen,
First media day in the books.
I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2022-2023 NBA season. It's here. And in fact, 7 days from today, as we're recording this, 6 days from today, as you're listening to this, we'll be watching some preseason basketball on Monday. I'm so excited. Can't believe it's here. This should be a really fun season, and let's get it going.
So, you guys, this is coming out Tuesday. Just a quick heads up as we're talking through this. So, a lot of you know there is a hurricane approaching the west coast of Florida. Me and the boys here just starting to kind of plan, what that is going to look like. We're going to try to move forward with stuff as normal, but, Mother Nature kind of seems like it has different ideas. So, there will be an episode coming out on Thursday. We're going to make that happen one way or another, but yeah, if it's a little delayed, just bear with us. There is a natural disaster bearing down on the west coast of Florida, so a little bit scary, but that's we'll get that taken care of. But as you guys are listening to this, it is the first day of training camp. We had media today. We're gonna break all that down. It was a ton of fun. Me and producer Kevin were there, as our not as good looking co-host was not able to join us on Monday. So it is what it is. There's like a beauty meter in order to get into media day, right. And they're like, nah, that kid Luke, he can't come. Nope, he's not allowed.
He can't do it. Luke also, in light of his child coming to the world here in the next few weeks, can't really afford to take off much work. I'm in a sales role, so I'm thankful for a company that, provides base salary, but at the same time, I gotta, daddy's gotta make that money, before I'm out for an extended period of time. So I listen, if there's anybody that is going to represent the show, I'm glad it was you and Kevy getting it done in Orlando. I was proud of you guys. You guys crushed it out there.
Speaking of daddy, I'm going to kind of jump the gun. I feel like we got to talk about Luke's shirt and Jonathan's shirt and my shirt. And
If those on YouTube, you're getting the full experience right now.
You're getting it all. You're getting
a show.
The chest right now. So we rolled out some new shirt designs. So Kevin, can you turn around? Can you give us a little 180 here?
So I'm not in my normal studio in case you couldn't tell.
Our audio listeners are just like so confused right now.
Guys, do you hear the back of my shirt?
Yeah, exactly. So we released some new designs, and we wanted to debut them on the shirt. So I'm rocking the Orlando versus everybody. It's got the Six Man Show logo on like the upper back. Luke's rocking the When Daddy. And then Kevin here has the Six Man Show breast logo with the motto "By fans, for fans" on the back. So if you guys want to help rep the show, the sixmanshow.com/shop.
This is a really weird thing. Luke, can you get that up close to the camera? Because I really love the When Daddy graphic.
I'm moving the mic and I'm getting in there.
They got the goggles on them for the eyes. Look at that. That's hot.
Beautiful.
That's sick. Yeah. That's my favorite one.
If you guys are on audio platforms, switch over to YouTube real quick. Pause this.
We'll post some pictures. How about that? We'll post pictures of social of our shirts.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's a great detail there. And I think these shirts turned out awesome. Hope you guys enjoy them, and we'll snag one.
Again, if you want to find one of those, you can find us at thesixmanshow.com/shop. So we've got these shirts. We've also got like a polo. If you're a polo kind of guy or gal, we've got some hoodies up there as well. So go ahead and check out some merch. Every little bit, helps support the show. Helps us do things like going to media day. So we have the equipment that we need to do that. So we're gonna jump into media day in just a moment here, but wanted to remind you guys again as now we're getting into training camp and soon enough the preseason. Coming up on October 14th at 7 o'clock as the Magic take on the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. That is going to be the Magic's preseason finale, the last game before the start of the regular season. We're putting together a group of fans to go and try to fill the lower bowl, make some noise for our Orlando Magic, and just get everybody ready for the regular season. So if you would like to attend that game with us and be a part of our group, you can purchase your tickets at fevo.me/The Sixth Man Show. That's Fevo, spelled FEVO.me/The Sixth Man Show to purchase your tickets. They are limited. And 2 lucky fans who purchased tickets to the Cleveland Cavaliers game, our buddy John McCall with the Orlando Magic. He is a sales rep that's helping us out with this event. He's giving 2 lucky fans, so 2 sets of 2 tickets to the preseason game versus the Grizzlies on October 11th. So really excited about that. I hope you guys will come out. Again, that's fevo.me/The Sixth Man Show. All right, before we talk about Media Day, I just wanted to take a moment because Kevin and I can both attest to this. It was just incredible. It was such a great experience to be there. But we would not be there without you guys, without you listening and downloading and watching the show on YouTube and interacting with us on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, wherever it is. Without you guys coming out to our events, like the draft lottery party, the Magic, like they take note of things like this. And without all of that, I don't think we get invited to Media Day today. So it was just honestly a dream come true to be in the building for that and to get to experience that and be a part of it. So just super appreciative to everyone that helped support the show in one way or another. It was just so much fun. But Kevin, obviously we're going to bring Luke into this, but you and I were there. I want to ask you, we talked a little bit, but what was your feeling and just thoughts walking in the building today?
Yeah, it was a couple things. Because first off, obviously a cool experience for us, something new, but it's also a brand new facility. And I know we'll maybe talk about that a little bit more, but kind of walking into that space for the first time was really kind of cool and definitely felt like kind of the start of something new for this organization, this franchise, obviously a new era. We talk about the team and the players, and there was just kind of an energy in the room. And obviously we don't have past ones to compare that to. But yeah, the energy in the room was really positive and really encouraging. And I think a lot of people are looking forward to this season. You could kind of sense that in the room there.
Can we just talk about the smell for a second? When you walk in there, I don't know what those floors are made out of, but it just smelled like wood. It literally just smelled like a brand new floor.
Wood, Jonathan. Yep.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I mean, is it pine? Is it sycamore? Is it oak? I don't know what the floor is made of.
Is it W's?
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of W's. There's a lot of W's there. But no, Kevin, just to echo what you're saying, everyone that you talk to, whether it's other people covering the team or team employees, are just like, what about this place, huh? This is something special, isn't it? And everybody that we talked to today, every player, Coach Mosley, everyone just talked about how incredible the facility was. Luke, did you watching the interviews? Did you get that sense that just everybody couldn't stop talking about the building?
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome. It was at every turn. I bet who I bet was also kind of watching along with us, trying to get any type of glimpse at the practice facility as possible. Desmond Bain. I bet that guy was locked in, looking around just like I was, and just like everybody there was. Truthfully, it's awesome because you just feel like there's already so much going for this team, from young players, the young core, the talent that's on this roster, to the number 1 pick, to people coming back healthy, maybe not during training camp, but people coming back healthy, players coming back healthy, and then kind of the cherry on top, and really what might end up being one of the more important parts of this, rebuild, retool phase that we're going through, is the Advent Health, training facility. So just really awesome to just hear everybody continue to echo that sentiment. You guys, incredible that you guys got to go and experience it firsthand, and just incredible. I mean, like you said, just everybody talking about it. I think this is going to be a key contributor for years to come.
Just to talk a little bit to take fans kind of inside Media Day and what happened. So obviously the Magic have the new 2 full courts and then the 2 half shooting courts off to the side. So the news stations are there kind of set up to be scheduled with their one-on-ones with each player. And then there are like different stations where they'll talk to, you know, the radio team or the broadcast team, or they'll have like different, you know, like photo op areas. And then kind of in the back, I don't want to say the corner because it's a pretty large area, but that's kind of like the quote unquote media scrum where each player like kind of makes their like rotations through. And I tweeted this the night before, so Sunday night, is that it kind of had like a first day of school like kind of vibe to it. Like I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna wear and like, oh, who are we gonna see? Like who's gonna be there kind of thing. And that's very much the vibe there. You can tell that like folks haven't seen each other all summer. Like the players have seen each other, but like team personnel, like a lot of the folks that are there covering the team haven't seen each other all summer, haven't seen the players all summer. So it's very much that kind of vibe. Like, oh, hey, how have you been? You know, what was your summer like? What period do you have chemistry? Like, not that kind of stuff, but that was very much the vibe. But so the morning for us really started like pretty promptly at 11 with Jeff Weltman, you know, the president of basketball operations. And you know, he definitely talked. He had some, you know, injury updates, which we'll get into more in just a bit here, but really talked about, you know, team expectations. And we were lucky enough after his like brief availability, we got a couple of minutes kind of one-on-one with Jeff Weltman, the president of basketball operations with the Orlando Magic. And we're going to go ahead and play that clip now.
All right, we're here at Orlando Magic Media Day with President of Basketball Operations, Jeff Weltman. Jeff, you've been here, I think you're going into your 6th season now with the Orlando Magic. Obviously, the team looks a lot different than it did when you first got here. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the pieces that you've acquired up to this point and just the overall makeup of the team?
Well, obviously, we're going through a very different phase than we went through when our group arrived. I've never been more excited about our prospects, but obviously we are extremely young, and we have to be aware of what growth looks like for us. So we need to play better basketball. We need our young guys to understand what winning looks like in this league, and those things don't happen overnight. So patience, encouragement, teaching, you know, these are a lot of the elements that we're going to have to pour into this time of our development of this team. That said, I think we have a lot of talent, a lot of character, a lot of players that fit one another that we're really eager to see grow up together.
Last year there was a big emphasis on just learning and development, you know, with the young roster that you had. Is there been a change in expectations from the franchise perspective in terms of what would a successful season look like for the Magic this year?
Well, you know, Coach Mosley uses the phrase level up, right? So I think that, you know, look, it's going to be more of the same. You know, we didn't go sign, veteran leadership into this team. You know, we added more youth. You know, we added 2 draft picks, 19 years old. And, you know, this is what we're about right now. So what does leveling up mean for us? Playing better basketball, right? Fewer mistakes, understanding role orientation and how that affects winning, conditioning, all of these things that kind of veteran teams seem to grow into seamlessly are things that we need to pour into our guys, you know, and we have to allow them the space to grow into that. It doesn't happen overnight. So, you know, we want to play better basketball. If we do that, the wins and losses will take care of itself. The timeline will take care of itself. The players will tell us, the team will tell us what's next.
Yes, that was kind of cool to get to chat with Jeff there for a couple minutes, but it's really interesting kind of some of the things he talked about. You know, you think about where this team was, you know, 6 years ago, whatever it's been before he got here. His fingerprints, him and John's fingerprints are all over this team now, you know. Not just on the court, obviously. We know that they have a type, right? As far as the, you know, the long guys, you know, athletic, and all those things. So anyway, good defenders and versatile and everything. But even off the court, obviously, the training center being one of them, the staff is completely different as far as the structure. And then a lot of the personnel that have been added. So it's interesting to hear him talk about kind of, you know, where things are now, you know, versus where they were when he got here. But all of us seem to agree that, you know, our faith is still in John and Jeff, and we're on the right track.
Yeah, and not a surprise to anybody. Just like in every media availability that Weltman is involved in, very buttoned up with Jonathan, obviously. But like we said, awesome for, you know, to get to even have the opportunity to chat with him briefly as it was. Just super cool. You know, you basically get like the same energy that you always get from him, where this is the most exciting time, and those sort of quotables that he has and continues to maintain. Just good to hear from him. Great to see everybody, like Jonathan said, first day of school type of environment. And you felt that in every interview, even with Weltman. I just think that he's probably giddy to get this season going and see what his product on the floor looks like completely healthy.
Yeah, it was great to talk with Jeff Weltman again. We really appreciate him taking the time at Media Day today. We do want to take just a moment to go ahead and shout out our financial supporters of the show. If you're new to the podcast or you haven't listened in a while, we do have a Patreon channel now where you can subscribe to 3 separate tiers of benefits that we have to help financially support the show, help us do all the things that we do. Every dime that comes into the Patreon right now goes back into the show to help us add additional resources or upgrade equipment, all that kind of good stuff. So we like to shout out our Hall of Fame tier patrons on every episode. We'll go ahead and start with Court Cousins, Armin, Carson Tulo, Jonathan Borges, Norm L, Magic Player History, Bailey Wiffle, Michael Salapong, Franz Godefisho, Ryan Singh, The Distract, I'm Ron Burgundy, Pierre A, Dylan Holden, Mr. Mikey, Lil Penny, Drum, Danimal, Dodo15, Bobby Skinner, Nate Donley, Goody93, Teddy Sylvia, Luke's mom, Breadhead, and then Brian Leggins. Thank you all so much for your support. We really couldn't do a Media Day today without you guys.
Yeah, we really actually wanted to read all of our patrons' names during Media Day today, but the Magic told us not to. So maybe next year we can do that.
We started to with Wendell, and they're like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Not really, but that would have been great.
Yeah, you called him Wendaddy, and they shoved you guys off out of the way there.
Kevin's friends were like in a chat today, like, hey, how can we get you guys kicked out of Media Day?
Yeah, like, what question could you ask that would get you kicked out? There were some doozies in there.
All right, let's talk about the biggest takeaways from Media Day. So I think one of the first players that we met with today was Cole, or as they're calling him now, Swole Anthony. And I think I blurted out like, whoa, like watching Cole walk across the floor toward us. That dude, I don't know if he either changed his jersey size and went down a size. But jokes aside, Cole has very much been working on his body this season, and it is apparent. Like the dude has probably put on anywhere, I would guess, between like 5 to 10 pounds of pure muscle. Talked about how he just completely changed up his eating regimen. How last season he was just eating like Chick-fil-A and Papa John's every day. And he's like, y'all think I'm playing? Like, no, I'm for real. Like, that's all I was eating last year. And he's just eating chicken and turkey and veggies and that kind of stuff now. And it's very apparent.
He's getting the college out of his system. That's all he was doing, right? You don't get that long in North Carolina, and then you're still trying to figure it out. I know exactly what that was like, because that was my college years in a nutshell, was pizza and Chick-fil-A. So I get it. Maybe I should change up my eating regimen. I'm gonna see what's Cole been doing, huh? You think he's just like eating right and then working out the same, or did he talk about like, has he been lifting or like putting an emphasis on lifting even more? Did he talk about that at all, or just kind of dietary changes?
No, he didn't. At least I don't remember him mentioning really much of that. There might have been a little something, but mostly diet.
I'm almost positive somebody asked him that, and he's like, no, I've literally just been eating better. Like, yeah. I'm pretty sure. It's crazy how much of a difference that can really make for you.
Yeah, and I'm a skeptic when it comes to stuff like this. We hear every year at the start of Media Day or training camp, media saying, or people on Twitter saying, oh, so-and-so looks jacked, so-and-so looks whatever. And so I always take it with a grain of salt every year, right? It was legit. Like, we read a little bit of that like last couple of weeks. No, Cole is different now, like built different, like for real, totally noticeable. It was very surprising when he, like Jonathan was saying, once he turned that corner and walked across the court, I was like, oh, whoa.
Yeah, well, that was the first thing I said to you guys too. Like, Kevin, you alluded to the fact that like you're kind of hesitant to believe that that's actually legitimate, and it's not just like the angle of the photos or whatever, because that happens all the time in the off season, like you said. Because that was the first thing I said to you guys. Because one of the first things you guys said to me was like, no, like Swole Anthony's real. It's an actual thing. And my first words were, is it real, or is it just like you guys have just not seen him that close that many times? And you guys are like, no, like he legitimately, he has added a lot of muscle.
Yeah, that boy is literally built different now. Like, not to get, too into detail about this man, but Like you can see it in his biceps, his shoulders, his chest. Like Cole's been doing right by Cole, this summer. So, but he talked about really the main emphasis for that was like just being able to take that contact like in the paint and the lane, being able to finish at the rim a little bit better. So yeah, Cole Anthony, the personality was on display as always with Cole, was a lot of fun, but yeah, definitely a transformation in his body and a big change for a Magic player in terms of the way that they pronounce their name. I missed the first part of Chuma's availability. So Kevin was like, hey, Chuma changed the way that he pronounced his name. I'm like, where is this going? But now he is pronouncing his last name Okeke. So we've been calling him Chuma Okeke the last few years, and he's been going by Chuma Okeke his entire life. But did some more research into just like his family and speaking with his like Nigerian cousins this offseason. They're like, your name is not Okeke, it's Okeke. So he's really embracing that and is now going by Chuma Okeke. And I feel bad because I think there was like sometime in the last few months I roasted somebody for calling him Okeke. I'm like, his name is Okeke. Yeah. And little did I know they just had the scoop way before all of us. So it's Chuma Okeke now.
This was one of the bigger surprises. There was a lot that happened at Media Day, but this is one of them that I was like, I'm going to have to catch myself every time. And it's never going to feel normal to say Okeke. And it's like, obviously, like you don't feel too bad in general just because he's been going by, like you said, Okeke his entire life. Like this is not something you were just mispronouncing, that we were mispronouncing. It is just similar to a name change, it feels like. But he's obviously trying to do right by like where he came from and his heritage and everything. So I can respect it. So Chuma Okeke it is.
Yeah, or you could just be like me and just keep calling him Anomalous. That's easy to pronounce and
Chuma baby.
Kev's out here breaking out and dance for those
these again right here. We can jam to it.
Oh, perfect.
Be careful, Chuma hit us with that copyright strike. We definitely do not want that.
Gotta be careful.
Definitely don't want that.
Only play a few seconds.
But yeah, it's definitely going to take some time getting used to that. I can't wait one day to tell my kids like, oh, Chuma Okeke? I've known him since he was Chuma Okeke, and they'll be like, Dad, what are you talking about? And then I'll have to like give them like the little history lesson.
Yeah, children gather around.
That'll be the new like casuals call him Okeke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the casual fans know him as Chuma Okeke, when the rest of us fell in love with him when he was Chuma Okeke.
If you didn't love me at my Okeke, you don't love me at my Okeke.
That's perfect. Yes, dude. Yes, I love that. All right, the next thing, and I think Luke talked about how we've been dismissive of this player in the past, but it definitely feels like we have to have a real conversation. But one of the biggest takeaways for Kevin and I was just Bol is a massive human being. Like we're talking about professional athletes, all of who are, 6'1", 6'2" at the shortest, but like Bol is on another level. We know Jonathan Isaac, Wendell Carter, Mo Bamba are big human beings. Bol almost towers over these guys. He is insanely tall.
Yeah, that was one of my takeaways. Like he was standing next to Mo Bamba at one point over at one of the other stations, and I was like, wow, like he's looking down at Mo, like, which we knew he is, like technically, like you look at the heights, but like even just his like presence, it's like, dang, man. But what's interesting is we've heard his name a little bit more recently. Terrence has mentioned him, I think on his show or maybe Twitch, one or the other. A couple of the other guys have talked about him. Like he's making some noise. We don't know how much noise. Obviously we'll wait and find out here the next week or so. But it's interesting that he's being talked about this much. I think there's still a lot of excitement for his potential.
Yeah, when you talk to people in the organization, like everyone kind of says like, they don't know anything. Like, of course, no one knows anything, obviously. But almost everyone that you talk to, they're like, hey, what about Bol, huh? Like everybody seems to be getting excited about Bol. And yeah, I don't know what it's going to turn into. We're going to see some more in preseason. He talked about the fact that him returning had a lot to do with just him having an opportunity and like a path to minutes. So he believes that, he has a chance to like crack the rotation. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens with Bol.
Well, that's the thing though, is that like we obviously, in light of the news with like Markel might not start the season, we really don't know for certain. And then Jonathan Isaac, in light of that news as well, you talk about who benefits from minutes. And often when you talk about Markel maybe being out to start the season, you want to think about maybe a guard or something could benefit. But Bol, I mean, maybe they slide lineups around and Bol gets his shine in the beginning of the season. And if he is really what they are saying he is, in terms of just like the flashes he has shown, specifically, like you said, like with Terrence and stuff, then maybe he is going to get minutes and also kind of further prove that he deserves those minutes. I mean, who really knows how this is going to play out, but Bol might be someone that we do form an apology for here soon into the season.
And like as soon as you tweet out like I tweeted out like Bol is just like a massive human being, like everyone's like, oh snap, here comes Bol. Like people are really getting excited. So I mean, he's like Kevin said, Terrence talked about him, on the podcast. People around the organization seem to be excited about him. He's a super talented player. Still a very soft-spoken guy. Like for a guy that is that big, like you would expect him, maybe to be a little scarier, but very, very nice guy. That was one of my biggest takeaways is like how likable like Bol is. I haven't seen too many interviews with him, so it was exciting to get to hear from him and looking forward to what he's going to bring to the team here, starting with the preseason. So I wanted to take a moment just to talk about Coach Mosley. So we got to meet with Coach Mosley second, I think it was, right after Jeff Weltman. And Coach Mosley just really, it's a different tone than it was last year. And it was echoed really to everyone that we talked to today, just in terms about like another level of accountability. Like there was an element of that last year, but I think everybody has heightened expectations around the team. So here's Coach Mosley talking about what the team keeping each other accountable is going to look like.
You mentioned accountability and growth. What does that look like on the court in terms of coaching them or in a game? Like, what does accountability in that sense look like?
Oh, that's a great question. And what I say to that is we talk about our guys leveling up. And for us, it's dominating the simple. It's how do you sprint into screens? Are you setting the screen with the proper angle? When we're asking you to slip out of a screen, is that what it looks like? Is it a certain box out? If we're crashing the glass offensively, did you go? Did you not go? How many times did we have to tell you to go to the glass? Defensive rebounding. Our ability to make the simple and easy pass and the easy play. We asked our guys to be great decision makers, and sometimes that has to do with not just the basketball in their hands, but it has to do with off the ball. When are you cutting? When are you moving? When are you creating space for your teammate? All those things are coming into play because we've walked through all of that through camp last year and through the entire year. So now we'll be able to hit home on those even more so now.
So, I mean, essentially just like holding guys to like a higher level of accountability to do what they're supposed to be doing and play to a certain level. It's not just going to be about like development. It's going to be like performing and doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. He alludes to a lot in there about leveling up. That's something we heard as well in the Weltman, interview that we got to do. Like he even ties it back to, something that Coach Mosley says a lot is leveling up. And Mosley really gives you kind of a peek behind the curtain in this instance of, holding yourselves accountable, even down to like the degree you're setting a screen, but not just doing it right once, like consistently. And that really seems to be the message is like, in order to level up, I think the ultimate point that you can get to and the way you can describe it is that you're doing the same thing over and over again consistently. You're not just kind of one at a time. Like if you do it right once, but you do it wrong the next time, he expects his players to hold them accountable. And he's obviously going to hold them accountable through that process as well. I think that like that is just it's something that this young team needs, is somebody that is going to be very much in the details and encouraging everyone around them to have a voice to hold them accountable to do those things. I think that is the quickest path to success for this team. And I think Mosley in that respect, like you hear him talk like that and you're like, this is the guy that I want leading this young of a roster to greatness eventually.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you think about kind of the trajectory of Coach Mosley. You think about last season, him, being his first not just season with the Magic, but season as a head coach in the NBA. I feel like maybe last year was a really good opportunity to establish the relationship, like the trust between player and coach and player, which is a really important foundation if you're going into this year talking about accountability. And so that having that trust, knowing that Coach Mosley wants what's best for each player and therefore the team, can kind of, encourage your trust in him when he's really hard on you, when he's kind of nitpicking the small things, but again, it's like accountability that's required to take us to the next level. And so it's kind of cool to look back and think on that, kind of how the process has been, and definitely looking forward to see how the leveling up concept is implemented this season.
And it was like really a theme just throughout all the players that we met with as well, like talking about being accountable and not only keeping themselves accountable, but holding each other accountable. They even mentioned like sometimes having difficult conversations, but just making sure that people are doing what they're supposed to do. I think it was Jalen that mentioned, like, there are things that we can say to Coach Mosley and he's not going to take it personally. And there's going to be conversations that he has with us that we're not going to take personally, because we all know that we all just want to make each other better. And we all know where we're headed and where we're going. And just the point about last year was like building that, like that relationship and setting that foundation, because even though there are new guys coming in now, it's almost like if you think back to like Greg Popovich, and they always talk about the way that he treated Tim Duncan, and that he talked to Tim just like he talked to everybody else. If you keep it uniform with everybody, nobody can take that personally. And it just sets the culture, and you can tell that, Jamahl Mosley has done that. And you can just tell he's just so much more confident heading into year two. He's so much more comfortable. It was great talking with Jamahl. I'm just really excited to see how he's going to grow. And then one of the next guys that we heard from after Cole and maybe Bull, or was it before Bull? I don't even remember. There were so many guys that we talked to today. Paolo Banchero, just like you felt towards the beginning, like the scrum was like slowly but surely like growing, and everybody was kind of like squeezing in. When Paolo walked over, it was just everybody was like the air was like almost sucked out of like the scrum, and everybody was just like hanging on every word from Paolo. And the rumors are true. Like, you see the guy on TV, but when you see him in person, like, he's every bit the same size as like Wendell or Mo or like one of these other guys. And we all know, kind of the way that he moves without the ball. But Luke, what did you take from Paolo's availability?
That dude is confident. Like, you just hear him talk and you're like, yeah, I believe what he's saying. Like, he could tell me the most outrageous thing and I'd be like, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, you elaborated on that well, Mr. Banchero. Just really that respect. And he obviously in that, talked about his relationship with Coach K and Duke, and how that has really like helped build him into the player that he is, and just like continue to capitalize on that, and really like what that exposed him to as far as like something that momentous as Coach K's last season. But yeah, I mean, you get the same sense that you get from hearing him talk any other time, which is like, this guy is just a killer. Like, he's going to dominate the game and is going to be able to, and like Jalen, I believe is who you had tweeted about as well with the quote, Jonathan, was like, Paolo can be as good as he wants to be.
That got me excited.
You get that, you get that feeling when you hear not only others talk about Paolo, but hear how Paolo talks about Paolo. Like, he is incredible when it comes to that confidence piece, and it is everything that you want in your rookie, especially the number one pick.
So I believe it was Cody Taylor that asked Paolo what he thought was going to make a successful NBA season, and this is what Paolo had to say.
Paolo, for you, what does a successful rookie season look like?
Yeah, I would just say, one, I do just want to be a great teammate. I want to, definitely as a team be in contention, whether that's a playoff spot, play in, like just be in the mix, and compete every game. And then, I also want to be rookie of the year. So that's just a personal goal I set for myself. Yeah,
so hearing Paolo say those things, it's all the right things, right? All the right things you want to hear from your rookie. If you check all those boxes off, we're going to have a good season here, obviously, because Paolo isn't the whole team. Obviously, we got a lot of guys on the team, a lot of guys that we think can do well. But I think Paolo's success is going to be an indicator of team success. I think if Paolo has a great season, if he is rookie of the year, all those things, naturally we would expect, this team to take a jump from last year, adding a guy like Paolo that does some things that we haven't had on this team before. And so, if you can check all those boxes like you talked about, that would definitely put us in the right direction.
Can we, for a second, appreciate that Paolo just willingly said, like, one of the things I want to do to consider this season a success, I want to win Rookie of the Year. How many times do you hear rookies just talk around it? They dance around it. They praise their draft class and the guys that they're drafted around maybe, and they don't get to the point. Paolo's like, point blank, I want a Rookie of the Year. And like you said, Kev, like, that is absolutely going to tie in to the success of the Orlando Magic. There are a couple players on this team who you can directly correlate the success of the Magic this year, but no one greater than Paolo. Like, if he is as good as we think that he can be this year as a rookie, I personally think that he could be a 20-point per game scorer this year. If that's the case, like you said, the sky's the limit for this team, and there's no reason we can't be at least talking play-in if he stays healthy, consistent, and can produce.
Every player today, in one way or another, I think was asked what they think like Paolo brings to the team, and everyone really talked about like his specific skill set. Like, he's a big, moves really well, can score from all three levels, can play make. I don't know if we did a good enough job of asking like how they feel like he raises the ceiling and the floor of this team. Because I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just another year of being together, but everybody just seems so much more confident. And we'll get a quote from Terrence Ross here in a moment. But like, I think a lot of it has to do with just the fact that Paolo is on this team now. And I don't think we did a good enough job of asking that. If I could go back in time, I think I would like to ask guys that question more. Like, how much better do you think Paolo makes the team? Like this, do you feel like just the acquisition of Paolo gives you guys that much more of a better chance? Again, I don't know exactly what it is, but just everybody seems so much more confident, and I think we'll talk about that in a moment. But I want to spend some time talking about Markelle Fultz. So in between the last episode and this episode, the Magic made the announcement that Markelle Fultz suffered a fracture in his big toe, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that press release said something like he heard it in a workout, if I'm remembering correctly. But Markelle made it clear today that he was just at the crib walking around barefoot and stubbed his freaking toe, just like any of us would. And he's like, I tried to ice it a little bit. It was still bothering me. So I went in, got some imaging, and, we found that it was fractured or broken or whatever. He was in the boot the majority of the day today. But one of my favorite quotes from the day was, he said, if it was up to me, I feel like I could go right now, but I'm crazy, so I'm ready to play. But he obviously is listening to the wiser advice of the team staff that wants him 100% right before he gets out there. But he kind of gave us the impression today that he might not be out as long as we initially thought.
Yeah, it's probably one of those, like, if Game 7 of the finals was tonight, he'd play, but, it's the start of a season. He needs to get healthy. I'm sure it doesn't feel good. Like, if you ever had a broken toe, like, that hurts. That stuff hurts. And so, you haven't? Nobody? Oh, my goodness. Yeah. That stuff's painful, man. You look down and you got your purple toe.
I need a day when I just hit my toe really hard and I don't fracture it. So, the fact that you break it, and I also thought it was really funny. Like, in his quote, he was like, I don't know, like, I can't remember the exact quote, but he basically was saying, I don't know if they're calling it a fracture or a break, like what he said, like a break, or like he didn't know what they were. Yeah. He said, I don't remember what they said. And at that point I was like, oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. He's just not going to be in training camp. This isn't too serious. And we're going to see Markelle Fultz very soon.
Just a couple weeks probably, I would guess, but we'll see.
So he tweeted out, I mean, I know that we've talked about it, but he tweeted out a few weeks ago. He just tweeted out 4th seed and like the little purple devil emoji, which got everybody super excited. So I was like, what did you mean by that? Like, obviously, the tweet kind of speaks for itself, but just what was the thinking that went into that? Because if you're confident enough to tweet that, fans want to hear like what the thinking was behind that. So here's Markelle talking about that tweet.
Markel, a few weeks ago, you tweeted out 4th seed. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you meant by that tweet?
Yeah, I just put it out there. I was talking to a couple of my buddies, and I truly believe that we could be a 4th seed. And I just put it out there. Not saying anything. Obviously, I didn't put too much in it. I didn't want people to go crazy, but hold myself accountable. You know, you got to believe, you got to manifest in order to get to anywhere you want to go in life. So just putting it out there in the world for when that day happens, you know, y'all won't be too shocked. You know, I won't be shocked at all. Again, I believe in this team. I believe that we have a lot of young talent. I don't think that it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be a lot of hard work, but I believe we have a chance to do something very special. You know, I think like I said, I think we're going to do some special things this year.
Well, first of all, Jonathan, I just want to give kudos where it's due. And I tweeted this, I quote tweeted it with that, and I was like, we need to normalize asking players about their tweets. I just feel like it doesn't get done enough. And it was something so subtle, but the fan base loves it. Obviously everybody loved that he was asked about it. So kudos to Jonathan for asking that question first and foremost. But then, you know, he talks about I just wanted to tweet out a little something that didn't get anybody too excited. I was like, bro, you know good and well that everybody was going to just take that and run with it. I mean, everybody in the Magic organization, people obviously were retweeting it and whatnot. And so people from other organizations were maybe clowning Markel for saying 4th seed, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's while it was good to hear him double down as well on I said what I said, that tweet's out there. I knew it would be out there type of, talk from him, but just very refreshing, because when's the last time that you heard any player in this organization earnestly talk in the last couple of years about being anything higher than just making the playoffs? Markel is going to take what Mosley was talking about in terms of leveling up, and Markel wants to level up a lot because it takes a lot to get to the 4th seed. I don't know that I'm on board with the Magic being a 4th seed, but I appreciate that, you walk into games thinking, we have a chance to win this. And it just speaks volumes about where they're at. And like you said, I don't know how much Paolo being a part of the team helps, but I imagine it helps a lot in terms of the confidence of where this team can be.
And the last thing I just want to add about Markel is when he's talking about the injury and kind of coming back from that, you can tell just the level of frustration that he has, because he talked about how the knee obviously came back from the ACL, felt great, better than it ever has, how he's been working on his body. He came in a little bit lighter than what he normally plays at, has been working on his game, really felt good. But the good thing about Markel is we saw him bounce back from the ACL last year. He came in, looked like he didn't miss a beat. His style of play is so compatible with other players, although he's going to miss out on training camp and that level of familiarity starting in training camp and preseason with guys like Paolo and just getting acclimated to the starting lineup. It's a little bit of a setback, but if anybody can come back from it, we know that it's Markel.
Yeah, I'm slightly bummed if he doesn't start opening night, for the only reason, obviously us Magic fans know he's going to be fine, but if only for the casuals out there or the NBA fans, when we tell them, oh, Markel's starting day 1, 100%. But if they're casual and they see, oh, he's coming off the bench, but we'll explain it's because he's got an injury. He's coming back from his broken, fractured, whatever toe. But either way, sounds like not a huge thing. Glad to have him back here soon.
Some more injury news. We were really looking forward to hearing this update going into training camp. We knew Jeff was going to get asked kind of right off the bat to start off the day. So we're like, okay, either this day is going to be the best day ever, or there's going to be a little bit of a damper on the day. And unfortunately, when asked about Jonathan Isaac, Jeff Weltman said he's still not 100% back yet. He's not going to be a full participant in training camp, at least not in the live action. He's going to be a participant in drills, but he's not yet all the way back. So before we talk more about this, let's hear from Jonathan Isaac and just the way that he's feeling about the injury here.
Jonathan, you seem like you feel like you might be ready to get back on the floor. What's been the messaging from the team in terms of final hurdles that you need to clear to resume full activity?
Well, there are no more hurdles that we have to clear. We've kind of hit these different points of the sprinting work, the jumping work, the body contact work, and now it's time to, like, can we put it all together with, with the way that we're working out, where it's like, okay, you're guarding this guy, then you're on offense over here, and then you're hitting this guy. Can we put it all together and do it enough to where we feel comfortable to let you out there? If it's on me, I'm like, I feel comfortable right now. But, it's they're going to give me their timeline, and just, take it one day at a time and attack it.
Have
and
they
be ready
given
to go.
you any kind of timeline on that?
No, not in terms of like when they feel like it's going to be something, specific. I think it's just the way my body responds. So as we ramp this thing up, can I do it multiple days in a row of running, jumping, hitting, sprinting, dunking, and be okay? Or is it going to be, 2 to 3 days and okay, I need a break just based on how I'm feeling? Because a lot of this stuff I haven't done, at game speed. And so I'm just excited to hear that word game speed again and be ready to ramp to game speed.
So you heard from Jonathan Isaac. Obviously, he's not ready to go from the team perspective in terms of starting training camp, but I was very much under the impression, and I think other folks there felt the same way, and you just really heard Jonathan Isaac. If it was up to him, he feels like he's ready. The team has gotten him to the point where he's running, he's jumping, he's dunking, he's bumping it, and banging down low and, taking contact, all that kind of stuff. And the team is looking for him to be able to put it all together to where he feels comfortable. He said he feels comfortable, and now they're just kind of waiting for him to get everything back to game speed. So, Luke, I don't know about you, but to me, it doesn't seem like he's that far off. We feel like he should be back, but hearing him talk today, I mean, sure, if you listen to him, he's ready, but I don't know. I just can't help but feel like he's not that far away now.
Yeah, and there was kind of that you guys were obviously just like fully indulged in media day and being present and being there. Meanwhile, I was able to kind of get the gauge from fans that had heard this news in real time about JI. And it was like immediately, man, everybody was like, like when Weltman gives like essentially his opening statements about injuries and he talks about JI, everybody's like, man, I'm done. Like I'm so done. Trade him, do this, do that. And it was interesting as time went on when J.I. was talking, you saw kind of that kind of talk dissipate, like it almost didn't happen, and it's only because J.I. is just so confident in his ability and what he said in those in his time and his media availability. As you hear, is I feel like I'm the best player that I have been to this point, and it's like you hear a guy say that and you're like, man. I don't feel like, at least I got this feeling, like, I don't feel like you say that unless you really believe that. Like, there's a lot of things that you can chalk it up to, oh, what else is he going to say? He didn't have to say that. He willingly said it and went on to say, like, yes, and this is important, like, I want to play now. I would think if it's up to me, like, I'm going to play that, I'd play now, that sort of thing. But then he did go on to say that's in terms from like a rehab perspective. But where it differs is he said, I'm not ready to go game. I've not done all of that stuff that I've done in the rehab process fully in game speed yet. Essentially, he just needs to get his conditioning up and be able to give you, anywhere from 26 to 30 minutes a night. Makes you also understand and really confirms what we were thinking, right? Which is like same way that Markel's return was handled, probably like 20 minutes per game for quite a while. Maybe not back-to-backs, that sort of thing, and the normal type of precautions that we've seen from this front office.
Yeah, conditioning was the word, that kind of came to my mind when I was hearing him talk, and he kind of explained it a little bit. All those pieces are there. It's just putting them all together, putting them together at speed. And we even got to see, kind of on the court behind us, he was throwing a couple down, getting up pretty high and looked good. Obviously, that's a totally different ball game than actually going up against guys and doing it at game speed. But, yeah, it's a mixed bag, right? And I'm totally right there with all Magic fans. In our mind, in our calendar, it's like this should have happened by now. He should be going 100% tomorrow. Unfortunately, that's not where we are. But it does sound like it's close. The phrase that Jonathan used that was "there's light at the end of the tunnel." Jonathan Isaac, I'm referring to, not Jonathan Osborne, but light at the end of the tunnel. And so I think we're close. It's genuinely, I'm disappointed that it's not tomorrow. I'd love to see him play preseason, next week, but hopefully it's soon.
I think one of the positives is like if you're trying to come back in the middle of the season, there's just not much like team practice time because the schedule is like so crazy. But like pretty early on, we have a really lengthy homestand. So if he starts to like work his way back, and maybe sometime during that homestand there will be some off days and some practices. I don't think they have like any back-to-backs or maybe one back-to-back. It's like 7 games in like 14 or 15 nights, I believe. But one thing just came to mind while we're recording this. Do you all remember when we heard that Markelle Fultz was like back practicing with the team? It was like late November, early December when he rejoined the team in like the West Coast road trip in LA. And then we didn't see Markelle until, what was it, like late February, early March. It was like it's like 3 months. Yeah. So I hope that's not the case with J.I. But I mean, obviously, it's an abundance of caution. You've already like invested a ton of money into Jonathan Isaac. Essentially, 2 years into his 4-year extension, he hasn't played. So we're hoping to see Jonathan, as soon as possible. But it did instill a lot of confidence, hearing him talk today.
Yeah, if you had Weltman, that's the last thing I'll add here is like if you had Weltman and just his quotes, you probably feel differently about the whole situation. But like you said, hearing Jonathan Isaac speak about it, it's like, oh well, like the reality is in the middle probably somewhere, and I feel good about that reality. In all honesty, we've come this far. You can't just just start giving up on Jonathan Isaac. If you've been giving up on Jonathan Isaac for a year plus now, continue to sulk and be irritated about Jonathan Isaac. But for those of us who haven't thrown in the towel on Jonathan Isaac, we're excited, and we really hope that this return is sooner rather than later. And that is something that he said that too, right? Like it's going to be sooner rather than later, and that is the goal.
Luke, like you mentioned, we were kind of like in the thick of things when we first tweeted that update out on Jonathan Isaac. And when Kevin and I called you leaving media day, you're like, yeah, you tweeted that, and like Orlando Magic Twitter was just like imploding. So I didn't get a chance to look at my phone until I got home and was eating dinner like around like, I don't know, 6-7 o'clock tonight. And I realized, like, man, I haven't gone through like the notifications from the day. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Luke says it was burned to the ground. Let's take a look. And I'm reading, I'm like, yep. Orlando Magic Twitter was burning to the ground. Like people were freaking out. So it's good to hear that things calmed down a little bit once we started to hear from Jonathan Isaac, and hopefully he's back soon. So we met with Terrence Ross, the wily veteran, the longest tenured Orlando Magic player, and the elder statesman of the team at this point. And for me, we've been talking about this as we head into training camp. Like, is Terrence going to be here? Does he want to be here? We've been talking about this all season. And for me, that was really what I wanted to hear from Terrence today. So we asked him, the beginning of the season or the beginning of the off season, it seemed like you didn't want to be here. Now you seem really excited. What's going on? And this is us talking with Terrence Ross.
Terrence, earlier the off season, you were on a podcast and you made it seem like you weren't sure if you were going to be back in Orlando, but recently we've seen you just been one of the more outspoken, members on the team on your podcast and on your streams about how excited you are about the Magic this year. What kind of changed in between then?
I mean, honestly, anytime you get the number 1 pick, that is going to put everybody in good spirits, from the players to the city to the front office people. So I think, when we got that pick, that was a good start, because that's where things start to boil down. You're going to get the best player available. So, and then on top of that, I think picking Paolo was exciting, just because I think everybody up to that point was thinking, hey, we're going to take it to Chet or maybe even Jabari. So it was just kind of like seeing Paolo. I felt like he was the guy that was kind of most well-rounded to what we need, and he kind of would fit us the best. And seeing Paolo was like, okay, that's exciting. Like, the number 1 pick, he's going to be a stud coming in here. And, just even working out with him, just seeing him with the team, like, he fits in so well, man. It's not like any ego with him. He works. He wants to get better. He understands, what the situation is. So anytime you can get that, it feels like it makes everybody feel good. So, for sure, getting that 1 pick, you're going to have fun that year. So I think that's kind of all what we're expecting.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting hearing Terrence talk about that. We've kind of been on this roller coaster with him in some ways, thinking all the way back to the trade deadline. I guess it was 2021 when, Vooch and Evan and AG were all traded. Terrence has talked about openly several times. He thought for sure he was going to be a goner that day. He just knew the writing was on the wall. But then he wasn't. He stuck around for the rest of that season. But then he thought, 2021 offseason, that'll be the time. And then it wasn't. And so it's kind of been this, like we said, journey, over the course of, these last couple of years. And even this past season when it came to an end and early in the offseason, he kind of spoke on Twitch or on his podcast or somewhere, that he was, thinking like the last year might have been his last in Orlando. But then, things happen. You get the number one pick and all that kind of stuff. Things change. And I know he talked a little bit about that. But it's kind of cool to have a veteran that's all in, like pumped up, not just like all in for the paycheck, but like he's fired up. He's genuinely excited. He believes in this team and believes in the ceiling that we're all trying to reach. And so it's pretty cool to have him around. And I'm looking forward to seeing him, contribute this season.
For me, the funniest thing with Terrence was obviously at the beginning of the offseason, it was like, I'm moving on. I'm ready for something else. And then when we kind of went into the Twitch chat like a week later and we're like, hey, like what's going on? Like, do you want to be here? Now it sounds like, you might want to stay. And he kind of walked it back a little bit and gave us kind of like a non-answer and was like, hey, like I've been in this league a long time. If you want to be around the league a long time, like you don't want to upset people. Like you want to be a good guy in the locker room. And it seems like just throughout the summer, each time he talks about the Magic, he's like a little bit more excited and a little bit more excited and a little bit more excited. And to me, it was just like, all right, so he wanted to leave, and then we drafted Paolo. And now that we have Paolo, Terrence is like all aboard. Like, this kid is exactly what we need here in Orlando. Now I'm here to stay. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to get some more, media attention. And even he said it. He's like, I'm not afraid to say it. Like, he said, worst case scenario, this team should be a play-in team. Like, worst case scenario. We've been talking about that's best case scenario. And here you have a veteran who's been around the league a long time, and he says that should be the worst case scenario. That's a big deal to me.
Yeah, it's nice to hear. It's just another, and this time it's not one of the young players talking about it, right? Like it is an older veteran player who has been in this league for a while, knows what it takes to win, knows what it takes to stick around, and you have Terrence kind of talking on all aspects about this. It's refreshing, that really is what this media day was for me. It was just refreshing from everything we've talked about, all the new things, all of the people, players still being here, keeping that continuity and leveling up, and Terrence speaking about just that worst case, right? Like worst case plan. So I would love to believe it, but I just, we've been burned so many times, but it is encouraging. And I'm glad that Terrence feels that way. If anybody's going to think optimistically and maybe a little bit unrealistic about teams' expectations and what they can do, you want it to be your players.
So Terrence is excited. Terrence was having fun at Media Day. Gave us a little shout out, on the Instagram story, which was pretty cool. So we're happy to have Terrence here. And he even talked about how he's preparing to be able to just take difficult shots all year. Like that's what he worked on this summer, is making and taking like highly contested, what you might even call like bad shots, because he knows that's what he's going to get, because teams are just going to be so focused on him.
It's his normal shot chart too, like in his tendency. Like it's funny to me that like that's what he's working on, and he's already, in past seasons has shown those are the shots that he shoots better than wide open 3-point attempts. So encouraging to know that he knows what's coming his way this year. He's maybe able to prepare a little bit more. He's in a better maybe like mental state in terms of like how happy he is to be on this team. It's very nice to know that Terrence is going in with this mindset, when last year at times we just weren't sure what he was really thinking in terms of this team and his future.
So it has been it's been a long day for Kevin and I. I know we've both been up since the bright, early hours of the morning. So we're going to touch on a few guys here who we've really just talked about all season. Like Jalen Suggs today, the biggest takeaway today, like asked, what did you work on this off season? For him, it was the jump shot. Didn't rework his mechanics, anything like that. It was just more so getting his mechanics consistent, making sure he has a good base, bringing the ball from the same pocket every single time, bringing the ball up the same way, the same release. Doesn't matter if the shot's being rushed or if he's off balance, just the same mechanics every single time, and really getting his confidence back. If you told me that he was lacking confidence last year, would not be able to tell that whatsoever. But yeah, Jalen, it seems like he's going to be a much more comfortable and confident shooter this year. Speaking of confidence, let's talk about this for a second. Franz Wagner, just oozing with confidence. I asked him if Eurobasket really helped his confidence, because you would think, winning bronze for your country, hitting a 35-foot step back in one of the best players in the world's face, I feel like that would boost your confidence a little bit. He's like, not really. I mean, I've been confident. So this kid just like swagger, confidence. You talk about it. Am I right, Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely. Even just walking in the room, it's like, oh man, Franz is here. It was also cool to kind of talk with him about that whole experience. The whole representing Germany in his home country in a major tournament. Definitely could tell it was a point of pride for him. Like he felt really, really, a lot of accomplishment in that. Maybe a little bit bittersweet that they didn't reach, gold or silver, but bronze, still a gigantic accomplishment for Germany. I loved hearing him talk about Dirk as well. Got to spend some time with him this summer. Got to witness his jersey retirement, the Germany jersey retirement for Dirk, and his face kind of lit up when we talked about that. And definitely gives him kind of someone to aspire to be like, not just for the German national team, but also in the NBA. And also, maybe I'm putting this together now. Maybe he wants to be like Dirk so much that he's with the same franchise for his whole career. You know what I'm saying? Come on, Franz, let's go.
Yeah, and Mo talked about that as well. Like obviously the younger guys, they want to win gold, but a lot of those guys that have been there, some of those guys even played with Dirk, to finally win the bronze was a really big deal to them. So it was a lot of fun for them. Luke, what did you take from your boy Gary?
Gary Harris. What I took was, I love this man. That's what I take from Gary. Just the same vibe you get from him has permeated through like his just like his time. It's grown even more. Like just he's just calming. Like for him to hear him talk on the court, off the court, like he is, very much like his personality is very similar in those ways. So just awesome to hear from Gary and in general. Obviously, we hope to have him, back on the court sooner rather than later, much as the case with Markel and J.I. But I just love what Gary brings to the table, and just awesome to hear from him, and hopeful that we're able to see him soon.
Yeah, I feel like the vibe like around Gary was that like the meniscus injury that he had was like one of the better, I mean, for lack of a better term, the better meniscus injury that you could have. So hopefully he'll be back soon. For him and Mo Bamba, obviously re-signing with the team, the question was like, what was it about, the magic that brought you back? For Mo Bamba, it was like really the familiarity, with the team and, the organization. He knows that he's going to have a path to play here. And Gary, we talked a little bit with him about like, how would you compare like the early Denver years to what you guys have in Orlando? And he thought it was pretty similar. And he said, you'd be surprised how quickly things come together. He said, we missed the playoffs 2 years in a row by one game. The next year, the lowest we reached the entire season was 3. So he said they have a chance to do something really special. So a veteran that's been around the league for a long time like Gary Harris, realizing that something special is brewing in Orlando and wanting to resign here, to me, that was a big deal. And then the last thing that I really wanted to touch on was just every guy that we talked to today, whether it was Jeff or Mosley or Cole or Paolo, Markel, J.I., Franz, this just exuding confidence, not only about themselves, but about this team and what they can accomplish. Kevin, did you have that vibe too today?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting we're talking about just Gary Harris, the fact that the two vets, like the two guys that have been around the longest, and not only been around the longest, but two guys that have, been there, done that as far as wins. They don't have rings, but they've been around really successful teams in Denver and Toronto. And even Terrence was on the playoff teams here in Orlando. And so for those guys to be some of the most, outspoken, verbally confident guys on the day, as far as putting, projections and goals and stuff on the team I think that speaks a lot. Like, it's kind of scary, honestly. Like, I'm like, we sure? Like, is this where we're going? Which is, it's kind of cool. I don't want to get, my heart broken again, but it's kind of cool to hear those guys speak so highly of what's currently in place and what maybe could happen this coming season.
I mean, I think that's really going to do it for us for Media Day. It was a lot of fun. It was a great opportunity to be there. Guys, any last thoughts before we wrap it up here?
I'm so excited. I'm not going to lie. Like, I just cannot wait till Monday night. I know it's preseason. I know we're just going to be like scrounge around looking for a Jumbotron feed or something like that. It'll be a lot of fun.
Board. It's a video board, Kevin.
A video board feed, excuse me. Yeah. Just looking for something, Bally Sports hasn't come out with their broadcast schedule yet, as far as, obviously, hopefully it's all 82 regular season games, but then, preseason. Actually, no, it would be potentially 81 games because as of right now we have a TNT game. So we'll see. Hopefully we hang on to that. But as far as preseason, we haven't heard what they're going to do. Usually they don't broadcast the first couple at least. So like I said, we might be, scrambling around looking to find something. But either way, Monday night, I'm excited. Let's go.
Yeah, we're so close. We are just so close. Like I said at the beginning of the show, man. Like there's nothing else to add at that point. Like we're ready to see the basketballs on the court. We're ready to see Paolo Banchero in a Magic jersey that's not a Summer League jersey and not at Media Day. It's going to be a lot of fun.
The team seems to have like a heightened sense of focus right now. I can't wait. So Monday, they're running 2-a-days. So like a morning session and afternoon session. And then there's going to be media availability. We won't be able to be there, but media availability after the first like morning session. So just excited to hear how that first session went because like for most of these guys, they know the terminology. They know what the coaching staff is looking for. So, man, I just can't wait. I know there's a few guys that we're missing, but it's going to be really exciting. So, again, a great day. I hope you guys appreciate our Media Day coverage. I hope we don't ever get used to this kind of stuff. It's just every few months for us. It just seems like another like lifelong dream is coming true for the team, and I hope we just never get used to this stuff. I hope it's always as fun as it was today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully we gave you the Media Day coverage that you're looking for. But we're going to go ahead and sign off here. I hope everybody stays safe with the hurricane that is coming. If there's any changes with the recording schedule, episode schedule, we'll be sure to let you know. But for Kevin Tucker, for Luke Sylvia, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You guys are listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya. Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!